This is former Vice President Joe Biden, the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee. And on Friday, May 1st, Biden appeared on MSNBC's Morning Joe.
Mr. Vice President, thank you for coming on the show this morning. We have a lot we want to ask you this morning.
Immediately, I am reminded how Biden keeps saying that President Trump needs to listen to the experts. But in the meantime, Biden insists on coughing into his hand, even though health experts for decades have been warning Americans to stop doing that.
Excuse me. You know, you're supposed to cough into your elbow. I don't know, sir. I learned that actually covering your White House.
Cover your sneezes with your sleeve, not your hands.
Always sneeze or cough into the bend of your arm.
Like this. Achoo!
Actually, that's true, but fortunately I'm alone in my home, but that's okay. I have not been tested.
Anyway, Biden didn't come on Morning Joe to exclusively talk about the health crisis. It was to address an allegation made against him by a former Senate aide. And Morning Joe's Mika Brzezinski handled the questioning.
And I want to get right to the allegation made against you by Tara Reade. So, the former Senate aide accuses you of sexual assault. Would you please go on the record with the American people? Did you sexually assault Tara Reade?
No, it is not true. I'm saying unequivocally, it never happened.
It never happened? Oh, Joe.
Do you remember her? Do you remember any types of complaints that she might have made?
I don't remember any type of complaint she may have made. It was 27 years ago.
To be fair, Biden seems like he doesn't know where he is at any given time, so to expect him to remember anything from 27 years ago is kind of a stretch. But this shows Mika's shortcomings as a journalist. What she should have asked was, do you remember her? And if so, what was your working relationship like? Instead, Biden went straight into denying the allegations. We have no idea if Reade was close to Biden or if they even worked with each other on a one-on-one basis. And that would be more helpful in drawing a more complete picture. Mika also didn't dig into other allegations. For example, Tara Reade wrote an essay in April 2019 that alleges that she was told that Biden wanted her to serve drinks at an event because he liked her legs and thought that she was pretty. Reade also claims that Senator Biden would touch me on the shoulder or hold his hand on my shoulder, running his index finger up my neck during a meeting. He did this often to me. Others, he was demonstrative. A real journalist would ask about such allegations, putting Biden on the record, which would come in handy, for example, if a former staffer decides to come forward and back up Reade's version of events.
Are you absolutely positive there is no record of any complaint by Tara Reade against you?
I am absolutely positive that no one that I'm aware of ever has been made aware of any complaint, a formal complaint made by or a complaint by Tara Reade against me at the time this allegedly happened 27 years ago or until I announced for I guess it was in April or May of this year.
Oh, my brain hurts.
I know of no one who's aware that any complaint was made.
Let's break this down. Biden knows of no one who is aware that any complaint was made, which is not to say that there isn't someone who does know, it's just that Biden doesn't know about them. And this is giving him an out, because if the complaint magically appears, or a former staffer just happens to remember, then Biden can say, well, nobody told me, I wasn't aware. In a statement published right before his Morning Joe appearance, Biden wrote, "There is only one place a complaint of this kind can be, the National Archives. The National Archives is where the records are kept at what was then called the Office of Fair Employment Practices. I am requesting that the Secretary of the Senate ask the archives to identify any record of the complaint she alleges she filed and make available to the press any such document. If there was any such complaint, the record will be there." Well, Biden and his campaign staff were misinformed regarding records handling. According to Business Insider, the National Archives do not have records from that office. Senate rules require that all non-current records are to be transferred to the General Services Administration at the end of each Congress. And long story short, records from that office are governed by a Senate resolution mandating that records containing personal privacy, information closed by statute, and records of executive nomination are closed for 50 years. In other words, if the record of that complaint exists, it is supposed to remain closed by law until 2043. So that's convenient. So getting access to Biden's records stored at the Senate is highly unlikely. There are, however, the Senate documents that Biden handed over to the University of Delaware. Earlier in the week, Tara Reade told Fox News, "I'm calling for the release of the documents being held at the University of Delaware that contain Biden's staff personnel records, because I believe it will have my complaint form, as well as my separation letter and other documents."
If she believes and she alleges that the complaints may be hidden there, why not strive for complete transparency?
A record like this can only be one place. It would not be at the University of Delaware. My archives do not contain personal files. My archives contain documents, and when I say personal, personnel files. They don't contain any personnel files. Look, this is an open book. There's nothing for me to hide. Nothing at all.
But if there's nothing to hide, then why is Biden restricting the release of the Senate records located at the university?
Because, look, the fact is that there's a lot of things of speeches I've made, positions I've taken, interviews that I did overseas with people, all of those things relating to my job. And the idea that they would all be made public, in the fact while I was running for public office, they could be really taken out of context.
Now it looks like he's hiding something.
The papers are position papers. They are documents that existed, and that when for example, when I met with Putin or when I met with whomever, and all of that to be fodder in a campaign at this time. I don't know of anybody who's done anything like that.
So Biden doesn't want things from the past to negatively affect his campaign. But when accusations were made against former Mayor Mike Bloomberg, Biden called for complete transparency.
We talk about transparency here. Look, this is about transparency from the very beginning, whether it's your health record, whether it's your taxes, whether you have cases against you.
This is a classic example of do as I say, not as I do. So Brzezinski attempted to get Biden to agree to a name search of Tara Reade in his Senate archive just to see if anything comes up.
I'm just asking, why not do a search for Tara Reade's name in the University of Delaware records?
Look, I mean, who does that search?
The University of Delaware?
That's a good retort, but doing a name search of the archives isn't as easy as Mika thinks it is. In an email to Fox News, a spokeswoman from the university claims that the collection of former Vice President Biden's senatorial papers is still being processed, with many items left to be cataloged.
Perhaps you set up a commission that can do it. I don't know. Whatever is the fairest way to create the most transparency.
Why is Mika pressing for the school or a commission to do the search? If you want transparency, there's only one way to do it. In 2018, Joe Biden has the answer.
They should do an FBI investigation. We did that for Anita Hill. Took 2 days.
And he's right. The only people that should be looking through those records is the FBI. Because if anyone commissioned by the Biden campaign goes through those records and they come up empty, many people will doubt the legitimacy of that search. But of course, the New York Times has come up with a better idea. Their editorial board called for an investigation into the matter, conducted by an unbiased, apolitical panel put together by the DNC. The New York Times suggesting that the DNC can be unbiased and apolitical is just the height of comedy. On Sunday, ABC's Martha Raddatz brought this up to DNC chairman Tom Perez.
The New York Times editorial board called for the DNC to convene an unbiased, apolitical panel to review portions of Biden's papers, saying his word is insufficient to dispel the cloud. Your communications director has called that idea absurd. Why?
Well, listen, there's been so many investigations of the vice president. The most comprehensive investigation of the vice president was when he was vetted by Barack Obama in 2008.
So Democrats like Perez don't want this new claim investigated because Biden was investigated already. It's done. He's been vetted. Case closed. But 2 years ago, despite the fact that Brett Kavanaugh had been extensively vetted before being confirmed to the DC Circuit Court of Appeals, Democrats insisted on an FBI investigation of the allegations brought on by Christine Blasey Ford.
They cannot complete that background investigation if they don't investigate these claims. So right now we have an incomplete background investigation by the FBI.
Failure to give us the documents. Failure to interview all the witnesses. Failure to give us the ability to do a sufficient background check to know who this individual is.
Even though she didn't know the day it happened, or the location where the alleged event took place, and even though there were no corroborating witnesses, let alone any proof that Blasey Ford had even met Brett Kavanaugh, just to be sure, President Trump ordered a supplemental FBI investigation to look into the allegation. And even though the FBI found no evidence proving Dr. Ford's allegation, it doesn't matter.
Do you view Justice Brett Kavanaugh as a legitimate justice?
He's going to be on the Supreme Court with a huge taint and a big asterisk after his name.
But in the case of Tara Reade, these three, who were so outspoken about believing survivors and letting them tell their story, have all come out to endorse Joe Biden before the allegations against him have been fully vetted. No, not hypocritical at all. So on Sunday, CNN's Jake Tapper pointed out the hypocrisy regarding the treatment of Tara Reade's allegations versus Christine Blasey Ford's allegations in an interview with Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Kavanaugh also, like Biden, categorically denied that accusation. And Blasey Ford, to be honest, she did not have the contemporaneous accounts of her view of what happened that Tara Reade does.
And Tapper's right. The witnesses that Christine Blasey Ford identified either refuted her allegations or failed to corroborate them. As for Tara Reade, 5 witnesses have come forward stating that Reade had contemporaneously told them of the assault and or being harassed at Biden's office.
Why do you believe Biden and not Kavanaugh? Are they not both entitled to the same presumption of innocence regardless of their political views?
We need to give people an opportunity to tell their story. But then we have a duty to vet it. And just because you're a survivor doesn't mean that every claim is equal. It means we give them the ability to make their case and the other side as well, and then to make a judgment that is informed.
But you can't make an informed judgment yet because Tara Reade's allegations have not yet been fully vetted, and possibly never will, thanks to that Senate resolution and Biden himself. And as a reminder, Whitmer made it very clear that she believed Blasey Ford over Kavanaugh, even though there was no evidence of any wrongdoing, and even before the supplemental FBI investigation took place. And now, Whitmer is doing the same thing regarding the allegations against Biden. She's made up her mind before all of the facts have been revealed, so at least she's consistent in that respect.
I have read a lot about this current allegation. I know Joe Biden, and I've watched his defense, and there's not a pattern that goes into this.
Okay, look, there's nothing wrong with believing Joe Biden because he is presumed innocent until proven otherwise. But Whitmer making her mind up strictly on what she has read contradicts her statement that all stories should be properly vetted.
And I think that for these reasons, I'm very comfortable that Joe Biden is who he says he is. He's, and you know what? And that's all I'm going to say about it.
That's okay, because Joe Biden has said plenty on the subject.
Look, women are to be believed, given the benefit of the doubt. If they come forward and say something that they said happened to them, they should start off with the presumption they're telling the truth. Then you have to look at the circumstances and the facts. And the facts in this case do not exist. They never happened. And there's so many inconsistencies in what has been said in this case.
But in 2018, Biden said something a lot different. You've got to start off with the presumption that at least the essence of what she's talking about is real, whether or not she forgets facts, whether or not it's been made worse or better over time. So in 2018, Biden said that if someone has inconsistencies in their story, that we should put all that aside and believe them no matter what. But in 2020, if a woman has been inconsistent with their story, she is automatically discredited.
So you just look at the facts. And I assure you, it did not happen. Period. Period.
If Biden is truly innocent, he should not only agree to, but insist that the FBI conduct a full investigation into the allegations against him. It's the only way to be sure. Because when Joe Biden demanded that a standard apply to one person, it means that it should apply to all persons, including Joe Biden. And with that said, thanks for watching, sharing, and hitting that like button. Follow me on Twitter for updates and subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time.